So it was March of 2018. I'm sitting in my office. I'm looking out the window. It's Minnesota. There's snow out there. When I got a phone call. And I looked at the caller ID, which everyone does, and I see that the call was coming from the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx. Now, I know several people from my experience coaching youth basketball, but this person I didn't know. This gentleman's name's Steve. He calls me, he starts talking to me about this program that the junior NBA was having to be able to go and recognize coaches and the work that they do, not only on the court, but off the court. And as he's going on about 5 minutes describing all this, I'm like, okay, how can I help? There's some things, because I'm decently well connected into the youth basketball scene in Minneapolis, maybe there's something I can do to help. And Steve tells me about how there's this process where parents go and nominate coaches. And the Timberwolves and Lynx selected me to be the 2017 and 2018 Minnesota Coach of the Year. Needless to say, I was dumbfounded. I didn't know this existed, for one thing, but two, to understand that 7 years previous, I was in the middle and in the lowest depths of a 10-year case of high-functioning depression. In March of 2011, I did the strongest thing that I've ever done in my life, and that was to ask for help. I'd had some cases of depression before, which I was able to take care of, but this was different. I was a horrible parent. I was a horrible husband. I was a horrible youth basketball coach, actually having some kids choose not to play because of the experience they had with me. And as a collegiate basketball player and one whose religion is basketball, this hit me hard. And at that time in 2011, when I asked for help, I started through a process to be able to go and identify how I can go and help myself get better. And I decided to reflect on things in my past that had gone well, that I liked myself or even loved myself, that I did good things, that there was an impact. And I tried to remember those stories, part of it just to be able to start making myself feel good. But as I went through those stories, there was an aspect of commonality that came through each one of them. And through each one of these stories, whether it be my time as an executive over at Thomson Reuters, or playing basketball at Hamline University, or coaching a variety of different people from the youth level on up to collegiate JV, there are four main themes that came through each and every story. And those ended up being what I have called the four fundamental forces of leadership. The first one is love. Whatever I was doing, whatever I was in that was going great, there was love. I loved myself. I loved teammates. We loved each other. We loved the process and the struggle of meeting customer needs or winning basketball games. In the process, we loved learning, trying to develop new skills and new capabilities. The second one is respect. And I define that in the Latin construction, re again, spicere to see. How do we see things again? How do we look from different perspectives to be able to go and identify the special qualities that are in a situation or in a scene, to be able to leverage and make something novel and unique and transformative? The third of these fundamental forces is service. The aspect of being able to go and make oneself, as well as others, the team, the organization, as successful as possible. And within that was included accountability, making sure that we held ourselves and one another accountable. And the last one was fun, joy. And as I started thinking of these four fundamental forces, and started practicing them in myself, in the interactions that I had with people, I started noticing some things about myself. One, the stress that had come on me and weighted me down time and time again. Oh, I can't take on another thing, but it just wouldn't stop. I was starting to lean into them. I was starting to see farther. Not only at the stress and why the fire was there at that moment, but what caused it. And because I was respecting it, I could see ways that I could go and address not only the symptom, but the actual disease, to be able to go and create something to make sure that that stress didn't come again. And as I got better and better, first I was a better husband, I was a better coach, I was a better parent. But I decided in 2015, as I was feeling better about myself, I was going to go and do this with a team. I felt these 4 fundamental forces were not just core to individual work, but that teams could be transformed. So I started working with the Mounds View Basketball Association, and a friend of mine was the boys director, and he asked me to come and coach a team that for the last 2 years had not been reaching their potential. That they had won 5, 6 games out of 30. The coach was berating them, yelling at them. They weren't having any fun. And I decided I was going to go and say these first 5 words to them. After I said who I was going to stick my neck out and say, "You have my unconditional love." And you can imagine 6th grade boys what they might have done. What? Who is this guy? What? And he said, "You don't have to love me, I have to earn it. You could treat me like crap, you cannot do anything I ask. Until the day one of us dies, you will have my unconditional love." And I described the other of the 4 forces that I wanted to go and use to implement a culture with this team. That team ended up going from 5, 6 wins to 20. One of those players was named Freshman of the Year in the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference this year. Another one actually played St. John's football as a wide receiver as a freshman. The next year, I tried this with 3rd level 8th graders, C level. Did the same thing. Players that aren't as athletic, don't have as much mental connection to be able to handle the dynamics of the game. The success that came from working on those 4 fundamental forces was that 8 of those players tried out for their 9th grade high school team. Every single one of them made the team. That's huge, trust me. Now, I've used that ever since. The 3rd year was with a group of 7th grade B boys, and that's the one where I won the Minnesota Coach of the Year. So in 7 years, to go from the bottom, personally, of my life, to actually have kids say that they don't want to play basketball, to being considered the best coach of youth basketball in the state? Wow. Now you could say, "Eric, this is really interesting. You did it with kids, you did it with basketball, but I got real problems. You know, real life problems. How does this work for business?" Now, what's really interesting is that success, as we go and define it, is defined completely wrong. We seem to think that success is at the summit. We get the sales, we have the cars, we have the big house. Success happens at the base level. So let's use how the 4 fundamental forces might be able to work in a business example. So say you happen to have an outcome, a goal of increased sales, new sales. You have your retention, everything like that. You have your expenses. But here on sales, if we focus on sales, you want to go and drive new customer growth from there. You can set some strategies that go for new customer segmentation. Maybe you change some product. But in the communication aspect of marketing, you end up going and creating a brief, a creative brief that goes and outlines how you're going to try and communicate this to this new segment. to be able to go and meet them where they're at. And you have processes and procedures and tasks that go through that. But let me ask you this. What makes one marketer better than the person right next to him? They use the same tools. They've been trained similarly. They're in the same cultural framework. What makes one marketer, one financial analyst, one leader better than the person next to them? The marketer that goes through the task by asking what really is the motivations of the person that we're trying to reach, asking questions in different ways, respecting the situation, loving the process to be able to go and serve the purpose, the mission, the goal. They love it more. They respect it more. They serve that purpose, the mission, the team, the salespeople, the end customer, and they try and have some more fun. They do better than the person that goes next to them just being able to go and check things off the list. Now, I mentioned that I tell teams that I coach in basketball that they have my unconditional love. Could you imagine the reaction if I go as a leadership coach, an executive coach as I am, if I go and tell a C-level leader of a major retailer that I coached that he had my unconditional love? What do you think he would go and do? You're right. I see you going looking. It's more than just the puppy dog look. There's cynicism, skepticism. What if I told you that at the end of our time together, he said, Eric, you helped me learn how to love my team. And that person's boss, the COO, said to me directly, Eric, I never thought I would see so much leadership growth out of this person than I have in the last year. It has impacted everything that gets done. Love, respect, service, and fun. Just like the four fundamental forces of the natural world, gravity, electromagnetism, strong, weak nuclear force, that combine in novel, unique ways to create sunflowers, you, me, this theater, the earth, the solar system, the universe, all the same four things that create our physical world. These four fundamental forces of leadership similarly connect in novel, in unique ways based on its environment to create cultures individually, in teams and organizations that transform. Thank you for your time.